In this time too, when I was around this age, at Redland Bay schools, wasn't in high school yet, my mother started babysitting for one of my cousins on my biological father's side. She used to look after his little girl while they went to work for some reason. But around the same time too, she'd been looking after this little one for a while, but then my stepfather went on long service leave, so he was at home. And I remember this one day, he wanted to take the little one to the shop to get lollies. Well, I wanted to go too. Something just told me I had to go with this little one, and he wouldn't let me. No, it's just her and I going. She's getting lollies. And they were gone for a long time because the shop wasn't very far away from us. But then that night, now she was pretty close to my stepfather. She would cuddle him and things. But then that night, when her father came to pick her up, she was in the bath and she screamed and cried and wanted her daddy as soon as he got there, which was unlike her. And then she wouldn't even say goodbye to my stepfather. She just pushed him away, screaming, no, no, no. I reckon he probably did it to her too, which is probably that gut instinct that I had to go with him, and he wouldn't let me, to protect this little girl. So then also the next time he came to drop her off, and of course my stepfather was still on long service leave, she didn't want to let her father go and she screamed and cried. And anyway, we eventually got her to stay there, but she wouldn't have anything to do with my stepfather then. And I can't remember her coming back after that. I think they made alternative arrangements because it was just horrific for this little girl to be left there. It was horrible watching her crying and reaching out for her daddy and screaming, don't leave me, don't leave me. I think that must have been over a Christmas period because we were on school holidays as well. So that must have been sort of in between Christmas holidays anyway, sometime. But anyway, I'm off to high school. Year 8. Loved high school. You didn't have to stay in the one room all the time. You could get around and things. So that was really good for me. Year 8 was just pretty basic. Year 8. The girls were starting to pluck their eyebrows. Well, the girls were plucking their eyebrows. So, of course, I wanted to do the same thing. So this time I asked if I could pluck my eyebrows. No, you can't. But what my stepfather did, he shaved one eyebrow off, only one. Waited for it to grow back. Then he shaved the other one off. Waited for it to grow back. Then he shaved the other one off. And continued on for the whole of year 8. Do you know how embarrassing that is for a young girl to have to go to school like that? He was just such a horrible man. I'm pleased I've left all this behind. It's taken so long for me to try and remember these things to tell my life story. But Cleveland High School was really quite good. We had up behind the school, so you'd sort of go across the road and up the road a little bit, and then there used to be a cemetery, and behind the cemetery was an old quarry. So a few of us used to wag it up there quite often. We never did anything wrong. We would just talk and hang out, and there was a bit of a stream. I remember there was a bit of a stream going through with an old tree laying across it, so we'd sort of sit there with our legs hanging down and talk. And of course you'd have to be back at school in time to catch the bus. I don't recommend anybody wagging school, but it was fun. Well, I went now in Redland Bay, year 5, 6, whatever, well, I can't remember exactly what year we started, but there was a lady from around the area who asked if us kids wanted to go and do swimming, like competitive swimming. And she used to pick us up, I think it was on a Wednesday afternoon after school, and we'd go into the Cleveland pool and swim. And she would take us in there every week. She was a lovely lady, and all three of us would go in. And well, I was a really good swimmer. And we were allowed to do that for a while. But then it was a Saturday, and we were supposed to go to a meet, like a really big competition somewhere. And this lady came to pick us up. But by the time she got there, my stepfather had quite a lot to drink and wouldn't allow us to go. And I remember this lady negotiating it over the fence, but they really need to go. The team's counting on them, Loretta's got real good times. My brother's got real good times. No, not going to swimming anymore. So that was the end of our swimming career. Didn't let us go. Ever. Again. Finished. And we did that for quite some time. Once again, I got on really well with all the kids at high school. It didn't matter to me what group people were in. Like, you had the real nerdy kids down here, and then you had a couple of bunches of in between, and then the big tough guys up here and things. I didn't care who they were. I was always nice to them. So I got on with everybody, and kind of protected by some of the bullies at school. And I remember waiting to go into class one day out on the veranda, and I was mucking around with one of the boys in my class who was at primary school, and he sort of hit me with a ruler. We were only mucking around. Well, one of these big tough guys walked past and grabbed him and put him up against the wall and warned him. He said, "Don't you ever hit her ever again. Oh, you're going to have me to deal with." And I'm going, oh no, we're only mucking around. They all used to protect me, kind of thing. I don't know why, but I was friends with everybody. It was lovely. It was kind of cool, I suppose. I didn't think of myself as a cool chick because I didn't hang around with them kind of guys. I was sort of in the mediocre kind of friends, not with those. Now, we lived in town, so we had close neighbours either side and things, and we were never allowed to talk to anybody over the fence. If one of our friends walked past, we weren't allowed to go out and talk to them. So if ever my stepfather was around or my mother was around and I seen my friends coming, I'd run down the side of the house and hide because I didn't want them to know. But if they weren't around, I would sneak up behind the tree in the front of the front yard and sort of have a little chat to them. But after a little while, they knew we weren't allowed to talk to them. So they would sort of wait there to see if I was around, which was fun. On one side of our neighbours, there was this old man. He was about 80-something. He was old. But my mother got me to take something over to him one day, and he wasn't in the house, and he was down in the backyard. So I went down and seen him, and I said, I'm here to drop this off. He said, I'll just put it in on the table inside. So I did. So I put it on the table inside in his house, and then I went home. Now, about a week later, he calls my stepfather and mother over to the fence, saying that when I was there, I stole his nail clippers. What would I bloody want nail clippers for? So anyway, I got a flogging. I didn't even touch him. And then constantly my stepfather would use that as blackmail. Get in here and I want to check you out, whatever. If you don't, I'm going to ring the police and they're going to arrest you for stealing those nail clippers. Well, this went on for a while, and then the silly old bugger ended up finding them and said, "Oh, sorry, I found them. I just didn't put them where I usually do." So for, I think it was a couple of months, my stepfather was using this against me, that he was going to call the police and have me arrested for stealing bloody nail clippers of all things. Now, in year 8, the kids at the back one of the girls was having a birthday party. And it was of a night time on a weekend. And we were actually allowed to go, which quite surprised me. But we had to be home by 9 o'clock. But on the same night, my mother went somewhere else. Now, she never went out, particularly not of a night time, and he didn't like to be home by himself. But she went out somewhere to a Tupperware party or something. I don't know what it was. But about 7:30, my stepfather's full of piss, and he's screaming out over the back fence for us kids to all come home. So, of course, we had to race and go home. And when we got home, here he is in the lounge room, and he's trying to get me into the bathroom to check me out in front of my brother and sister. So, of course, I'm really rebelling because I never really let them know that any of this was going on. We never talked about it as siblings. Never spoke about it. So I'm rebelling and I'm saying, no, I'm not going into the bathroom. And of course, we're all, fighting back. And then next thing, my mother come up the stairs. No, that's right, before she come up the stairs, I ran out the back door and went to get away. So I ran out the back door and I was coming around the side of the house when he come out the front door, and he met me there and he backhanded me straight across the face, and I hit the side of the house, and then told me to get back inside. So I went back around, and my brother said to me, he said, the whole house shook right when you hit it. And then not that long ago, after that, my mother walked up the stairs and came into the middle of all this. So anyway, my mother heard it outside, and she come up the front stairs and she said, what's going on in here? And of course, my sister and my brother were going, he's trying to get Loretta into the bathroom. He's trying to get Loretta into the bathroom to check her out. And I don't think she would send him into my bedroom from time to time, but I don't think she really knew exactly how often this was all happening. So anyway, it was sort of brushed under the rug, and the other two were told to go to bed, and then my mother was putting me into bed, and she basically said it was my fault, what he was doing to me. She said, this is all your fault. It's not my fault. And I lived with that until I was about 40-something. But anyway, I'll get into that a little bit more.